Welcome back to Lifestyle of the Broken Creative Podcast. I'm your host, Eric, and today's episode is called A Real Page Turner. My next guest is a graduate from the University of Memphis, the same city where he teaches, runs a multimedia company, and will soon be opening his first bookstore. He is an accomplished novelist with multiple titles available for purchase on Amazon. In my opinion, he is a sci-fi genius. Please welcome to the show, Jay DeMoir. Hi, Jay. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Hi, thank you so much. It's such an honor to be here.
It's an honor to have you. Welcome to the show. So I just want to start out and ask how you're doing, especially coming out of the pandemic and everything. How are things going in Memphis?
Yeah, so I'm personally doing great. The pandemic has given me a lot of opportunities to really just focus on my artistry and creativity. I've been able to get so much done. I think just being forced to be in one place was so helpful. I was able to put out another novel. I was able to start a business. And so I've had a lot more time to focus on me. And I know this sounds crazy because so many people lost their lives during the pandemic. They lost their jobs and lost family members, but I was able to really thrive. And I think it's kind of the other side of the coin with that one, but I'm doing great. Memphis started opening up again last weekend, so people are out and it's definitely returning to normal slowly but surely.
Nice, very nice. But I can totally agree with that statement. As hard as it is to see so many people going through stuff, I personally was thriving with my creativity, starting this podcast.
Yeah.
So it really brought out a different side of me that I think was dormant for so long, waiting to come out. So that definitely forced it.
Well, that's good too.
Yeah, exactly. You can't always focus too much on the negativity that's going on around you. You got to try and find little positive moments in that. So
a little pocket of sunshine.
Exactly. So let's talk about your childhood a little bit. Did you grow up in Memphis?
So yeah, I was born and raised in Memphis. I've grown up here. I've lived other places, but Memphis is home. Some kind of way I always end up coming back. And so yeah, it's been really good to me. So Memphis is home.
Well, that's always good, especially, if you venture out and you come back, it's meant to be.
Isn't that absolutely. The saying? Absolutely. I mean, that's definitely what they say. I definitely appreciate being grounded here. It's nice to be able to come back home and just feel the love and just a great reception. So it's definitely been a really, really good experience. But yeah, Memphis is home.
Very nice.
901. So.
And then when you were growing up, were you encouraged to pick up books and read?
It's a really, really great story. So yeah, actually, yes. When my mom found out she was pregnant with me, she literally started reading to me. And I came out of the womb just with a library of books already. And so I remember, I think when I was 3, I read my first book, or I learned to read my first book. And it was Willie Jerome. It's still one of my favorite books in the whole entire world. But yeah, she really nurtured that love of reading in me. And it's just kind of always been that way. And so I think that's one of the reasons why I became an English teacher. So I just absolutely love books. So yeah, it definitely was something that was implanted young, even as an embryo, and just kind of continued to progress as I enter the earth. So yeah, absolutely.
That's great. That's great. Honestly, me, myself, I did not like reading as a child because I struggled so much with it, but it was now as an adult, I sort of understand I wasn't really taught the way that I learn, and people really didn't have the patience. But as I got older, I indulged in things that interested me, and that's how I sort of picked up my love for reading. I always loved to write, but reading was a little different.
How do you learn? It's so off topic, but how do you learn?
I think I just have to really find something that sparks my interest to begin with and go from there, and then find things, even if it's something that doesn't interest me, make it into something that would spark that interest. I don't even know how I learned, to be honest.
but I get that though. I get that. And I think, even I'm looking outside of my educator lens, so many kids hate reading because when they're in school, they're reading something that doesn't appeal to them, or something that doesn't look like them, or something that doesn't relate to them. They're still reading Tom Sawyer, and that no correlation on 2021 childhood, so it's I get that. And so a lot of kids grow up not liking reading because the books that they're forced to read in school don't reflect their everyday experience. So I get that.
Yeah.
I get that.
And I think it has a lot to do with the people that are educating us. Like they
Mhm.
have to have that passion. They have to
Yeah.
have that patience. I
Yeah,
think patience is
absolutely.
a huge thing because I remember when I was younger, in like third grade, I was so fearful of my teacher. I used to like make myself physically sick
Oh
out of
wow.
fear.
Oh
And
wow.
I wouldn't do my homework or anything, even though I knew I would get in trouble. It was just, I
Yeah.
was so scared of just messing up too
Yeah.
that,
I get that. Yeah.
so it
Yeah.
sort of like deterred me from even trying. But
I get that. I was that way with math. So math was the monster in the closet for me. It was boogeyman under the bed. It was literally it was Thanos for me.
I was going to
It was
say
literally,
the bane of
yeah.
your
Oh my
existence.
god, it was the bane of my existence. Yeah. So I definitely get that. So
Yeah. So, but it's a good thing that you enjoy literature. You're an English teacher. You're out there writing. So, speaking of writing, when did you actually start writing yourself?
oh wow. Okay. So let's see. I'm gonna paint you a picture.
Okay.
Okay. So it was 2004. I was in a creative writing class in middle school, and I had this really lanky, really just like retro kind of this guy. He was like a skater kind of guy, teacher, and his name was Mr. Moore. And he was my creative instructor in middle school, and he literally assigned us like an assignment to like do like a short story. And I remember freaking out because I was like, I read stories, but I don't know how to write a story. Like, I don't even know where to start. And he literally like navigated us through this whole entire journey. Like he literally painted this picture for us.
Yeah.
And this like this kid just so excited, like my eyes got wide, and I was just like, oh my god, this is so awesome. And so I started in seventh grade, and that particular story, I think the one that I wrote was called like Clue Six.
Uh-huh.
Because I always like really loved mysteries, so it was called Clue Six. And I turned that assignment, and he was like, "Oh, this is actually really good. You should keep writing. You should make a book." And I was like, "I'm 12. I don't know how to write a book. Just keep writing, and then don't stop. And then you go back and look at it again, and go back and look at it again." And so it really started for me in that seventh grade class. And like that particular book, well, that story, Clue Six, became like a 200-page book, which is a lot for a 12-year-old.
Yeah.
Eventually, many years later, that same book became Across the Stars, which was my first science fiction novel published. And so it just kind of stuck with me. It just really just stuck with me. And then eventually it inspired me to become a middle school English teacher, and creative writing teacher. So
Yeah.
that particular class with that particular instructor really influenced the rest of my life. It really, even now to this new field that I'm moving into, like it has really influenced and touched every particular part of my life. So I owe a lot to Mr. Moore. I probably should like find him on Facebook or something. Definitely influenced a lot of my life.
Mr.
I should
Moore,
be like,
come to
yeah,
the next book signing.
right, like right. I'm literally gonna have to Google this man because I really don't know why, and just to give him his flowers, So yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. To answer your question in short, yeah, that's how.
That's beautiful. Mine is sort of like similar. My teacher
Mhm.
was Mr. Kruger, but we were in high school and he
Okay.
actually like he opened our minds to so much literature, but then he brought us to go see Rent on Broadway. And it was
Oh my
such an
god.
experience for me that literally I remember I was in high school and I was like the only boy in the audience. Well, not in the audience, the only
Yeah.
one crying, but in my
Yeah.
class at least, I was the
Yeah.
only one like brought to tears. And
Oh my
that
god. I
moment like
love rain.
changed me so much. Yeah,
Yeah.
right.
I love rain.
It's
It's
just
such a beautiful story. Just seems
everything,
every
everything.
time. It's just, oh my god, it gets me
And
every
it
time.
just like it makes you laugh, makes you cry, makes you want to
Yeah.
dance, makes you want to scream.
Yeah, it is literally such an impactful and powerful predecessor to so many of our other LGBT stories. And I just think that Rent in itself just opened up so many doors for people. You know,
Yeah.
I just think that if Rent was turned into a show now, like Jesus, I mean, like we know how it's done on Broadway, we know how it's done in theaters when it was a movie with the original cast, but like just seeing an episodic portion of that would just be so beautiful. Because people still live like that.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to bring
But
this
yeah,
back up with you in a
yeah,
little while because
yeah.
I have a question that'll sort of go along
Okay,
with that.
okay, okay,
Let me write that down so I don't forget.
okay.
Bring
Oh,
up
write it
Rent
down.
again. Bring up Rent
Yes,
again. Yeah,
yes.
I
Bring
could
over it
type, but
again.
I literally love pen and paper. I
Me
I don't
too.
know
Me too.
why, but it's just like
Yeah.
I
Yeah, I
don't
get
trust my computer that much until it's already
that.
done.
Technology will fail you every time. So I get that. I get that. Absolutely.
So I want to know because you did already mention this,
Hmm.
but you said that Across the Stars, which is your first book that I've read,
Okay.
which honestly I loved it. I thought it was like
Oh,
so good. It honestly I didn't know what to expect, and it
yeah.
shocked me because it was just like nonstop action
Yeah.
after act, and it was so descriptive. It was really well done. I was so impressed, and I was like, oh my god, I gotta get this
Oh my
guy
God.
on here so then I can go ahead and get the rest of them and catch up.
Wow.
No, it
Well,
was
thank
really good,
you.
really well.
Thank you. And I kid you not, most of that is still the original story that I wrote when I was 12.
That's
And
what I was gonna ask. So
this is
that
why, yeah.
derived from that short story that you were just saying, Clue
Yeah, like
Six.
yeah, Clue Six, because like initially I was like, okay, I'm gonna make a detective book because I love the Hardy Boys. I grew up with the
Yeah.
Hardy, love the Hardy Boys, and I was like, I'm gonna make a mystery story, and this group of kids, they're gonna like solve a story in six clues, and they're gonna have superpowers, and they're gonna like fight and be secret agents. None of those things correlate together at all. But I was like, this is what this is gonna be, and I wrote Clue Six, and I was like, this is horrible, and I was like, a superhero story. And so it just kind of evolved. And then as I got older and decided to like revisit it over time,
Hmm.
transformed into like this really huge thing where there's this guy that loses his life and
Yeah.
just kind of has to kind of try to navigate it back and decides to just take matters in his own hands to kind of reclaim his life. And so it evolved to this socio-political superhero slash action adventure slash romance slash dramedy mega monster, thing. So yeah, it just kind of took a life of its own. And like now we're what, 5 books into the series, and so there's
Jeez.
I think 5 or 6 to go. Because like when I started writing it, I couldn't stop.
Yeah.
But like I think when I was in 12th grade, maybe 11th or 12th grade, I wrote the last Across the Stars book. And so
Wow.
all these years later, like going back to them, going back and being Shonda Rhimes and killing my darlings and like changing storylines and literally ripping them apart to like breathe new life into them and modernize them and make sure that they're um, politically correct and making sure that modern. That's been like the most amazing part, and just seeing how different my writing style was then versus now. It's been beautiful, but yeah, it literally started from a small 55-minute class, and so here we are now. Yeah.
That
Yeah.
is so amazing. I think that is such a great story because you know of people that write little short stories and they probably
Mhm.
thought it was the best thing they ever thought of, but then they don't know where to go from with that. And
Yeah.
it's like keep it and revisit it. It's
Yeah,
I have
absolutely.
notebooks filled with things that when I started rewriting again, I was looking at these things and I was like, oh my God, I can't believe I wrote this when I was
Yeah.
however age. And
I mean, but the crazy thing, Eric, is that like a lot of authors, that's how they are. I think about, oh my God, what's the lady's name? She wrote My Dark Vanessa. I can't think of her name. Oh my God, I feel bad. She wrote My Dark Vanessa. Oh my God, Kate. What's her name? Kate.
um,
Forgive me if it's wrong, but I feel like her Kate Russell. And she started writing My Dark Vanessa when she was in high school, and here she is, like 30 years old, and she's has this amazing book, and it's just so powerful and it's so dark. Like it's literally about this girl who was molested in like her boarding school when she's a teenager.
mhm.
It's about how she falls in love with her attacker, and it's about like her literally revealing what their story is over the course of her life and how he rejects her over like her adulthood. And it's really really dark, but it's so. And but she wrote that when she was like, she started writing that when she was like 15, 16, and she finished it when she was like 29, and then she published it. Angie Thomas did the same thing with The Hate You Give.
Mhm.
In college, I think it was like one of her senior papers or something like that, and it ended up becoming her first novel. And I think that happens to a lot of writers. Adam Severa, it happened to him too. A lot of times you start writing things and then you revisit them years, sometimes decades later, and it's like, oh, this is actually pretty good. So it happens. Even for me, like even though like Across the Stars was the first thing that I actually wrote, it wasn't the first thing I published. Like I
Yeah.
published an adult fiction series called The Wives, and because at the time the editor that I had, who's no longer my editor, she was like, people aren't really gonna be able to relate to superhero stories. You should probably do something more realistic. And I was like, but I like superhero stories. And I'm like, in Marvel,
Yeah.
I being like, why not? She was like, well, I just think there's a better market for you here. And I was like, well, okay. So I put the wives out. It did great. So I'm gonna thank her for that. I had to fire. Um, but to kind of sometimes put things to the side to, go through something else, and then but you have to believe in yourself and
Yeah.
make sure all your babies see the light of day.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So tell us a little bit more about the wives. You gave us a little bit of a synopsis of Across the Stars. Just
Yeah.
give us a little rundown of the wives.
Okay, so The Wives follows five different women that live on this cul-de-sac called Life Road, and it literally follows their marriages and their lives and their stories. It was based on my mother and her sisters, or my aunts, and their lives and their marriages initially, and my grandmother, and eventually, like they took on a life of their own, and,
Uh-huh.
and so there were like four books in their series: The Wives. Um, Journey to Freedom, Out of the Ashes, and then the last one, The Untouchable Rose. And so like it's this saga of just like life, And so it's like the most realistic thing that I ever could have imagined, but it was the hardest thing too.
Yeah.
Because you're basing some of your pieces on real events, and you're trying to make sure that you're sensitive to people that are still alive,
Yeah.
able to read your work, but also breathing life into characters who now become their own people. And so it was super stressful. And I think I started writing that in ninth grade. So it would have been like, what, 14? Writing about
Wow.
having sex and getting divorces and
Exactly.
just craziness. And like, it was the most difficult thing in the world because at the time, I was like, I'm a fiction writer. I write sci-fi. I don't know how to write about real things. Like, I'm used to seeing, energy balls and flying in the air. I don't know how to write about someone loving someone and not loving them. But eventually I did.
Yeah.
So, but it took me like years to go back to that. So, but I absolutely love The Wives. It ended up being a really, really huge part of me that I didn't realize I was going to care too much about. And just a lot of the feedback from the readers, especially like readers from like Goodreads that are like these random people in the world reading my
Yeah.
stuff and like leaving these awesome reviews and making me cry. It's just been amazing. So I think that kind of goes back to like what you were saying earlier about sometimes like having these things in your journals that you put aside and like come back to later. Because sometimes we think they're the greatest thing or not the greatest thing, but it really could be something that was super helpful
Yeah.
for someone. I remember this one lady who wrote a review on Goodreads, and she was saying how like one of the characters mirrored her life with her husband, and how it literally played out her story. And she was like, do you know me in real life? Because it feels like my story.
It's too true. It's too
Yeah,
similar.
but she was like, but it ended out so much better than my own. So thank you for like giving me an alternate reality to feel like I could base my life on. And I was just like, oh, that's so
Yeah.
like that's depressing. But at the same time, I'm glad that you feel like there was a way for you to relate.
That's what
So
we're here for. We're here to provide an escape. And it
yeah,
could be the
absolutely,
most like
absolutely,
outrageous escape to another world, or
yeah,
it could just be to another household. And
yeah,
it
yeah,
really is so impactful hearing stories, whether they're true or not,
yeah,
because you'd like to see yourself represented even in
absolutely,
the smallest things. So
absolutely, absolutely, absolutely.
that is so nice though. I know. I love seeing like a little review, and mine is more like, oh, that book is so cute, but it like, oh, or my kid loves your book. I'm like, oh my God, I love your
Yeah,
kid.
yeah, yeah,
That's so
absolutely.
great.
And I mean, for me, Shonda Rhimes is probably my favorite creator.
Hmm.
She's definitely the number one on my top five. And I have been a huge fan of hers since that tragic movie she did with Britney. And what was it, Crossroads? Yeah.
Yeah,
This is actually, it's kind of,
it had its
but
moments.
it had its moments. But like, I've been such a fan of hers since then, and just watching. I've been a Grace fan since middle school,
Yeah.
and so like literally watching this journey and just seeing the representation. And like Grace came out a year after I started writing,
Mhm.
and before that, I didn't know as a 12-year-old that you could have characters that look like you.
Yeah.
When I initially wrote Across the Stars, like Zito was white, and so because I didn't know, I was like, well, if I make him black, no one's going to read it because no one reads black stories.
Yeah.
Then Shonda came and she was like, no, Burke's a black doctor. He's in love with an Asian woman, and that's okay.
Boom.
You can do
Shonda,
that.
you're
And
opening
so,
my
but
eyes, girl.
yeah, but like, I mean, but she really did. And,
Yeah.
so like literally, I was like, okay, well, Zito can look like me. Zito can be a biracial person that has a dad who's Haitian and a mom who comes from like middle America. Like, he literally can be this person. And then he can have an Asian best friend who, who does this. And he can have a Hispanic best friend who does this. And so, like, literally, I think every character except my villains in Across the Stars were initially white when I wrote it. And then after that, I was like, no, she needs to be Asian. He needs to be no, he needs to be da 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 da. And so it literally changed, which is why it's so important to have representation.
Yeah.
I was a kid watching TV where nothing looks like me. None of my favorite shows growing up had anybody that looked like me. Not even Power Rangers, because they literally let Walter Jones go after the first season. So,
Yep.
oh, well, no one looks like me anymore. But it definitely changes the way that you write when you see yourself represented, you know? And so, like for me, she has always been such an amazing storyteller, and I've always aspired to be able to tell these different stories that are so vastly different. Like Meredith and Annalise could not be friends in real life. Meredith and Olivia Pope could not be friends in real life, but they coexist in this universe,
Mm-hmm.
one person. And for me, that's kind of how I envisioned it when I was writing Across the Stars and when I was writing The Wives. Because like Rachel Richards from The Wives would not be anything related to ZOJ. And so it's just amazing to be able to have these different lanes for everything that's coming out of your soul.
Yeah.
And so it allows you to be free like that. And then just kind of knowing Shonda's story after reading like The Year of Yes, it's just like, wow, like you wouldn't imagine that this person, that this Titan was so emotionally stunted.
Yeah.
It's just amazing that creatives are just built like that. We're just built for it tough, which is not a product plug, but it's just true. So I definitely, yeah.
I love that. I love that.
Yeah.
And yeah, Shonda is one of the greats. Like she has changed the course of our history so
Yeah.
much. And it goes to show you what media can do.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna skip one of these questions because I sort of want to jump into this.
Okay.
Let's talk about your production company, House of
Okay.
DeMoir.
Okay.
I just want to know. So it's a multimedia production company.
Mm-hmm.
So what exactly is your company's mission, and what do you hope to accomplish with it in the future?
So, House of Demore Productions is my baby. It was founded in 2012 after I did a very extensive internship at Walt Disney World. And that particular internship changed my life because I was literally a baby in college and I was accepted into this world renowned program that opened my eyes to like I could be successful now, not have to wait until I'm like 40 or 50 like George Lucas. Not that he was 50 when Star Wars came out, but just the fact that I have to wait till I was this seasoned veteran to be a creator. And our mission just focused around creating art, whether it was multimedia, whether it was film or video production, whether it was literary or audio, such as like music. We wanted to be able to influence a generation and just share our art without our racial or ethnic groups being the deciding factor on if we were worthy or not. And so I was like 19 when I started my company, and straight out of the gate, we just decided to like be effectors of change. Like we just decided to just go out into the world and just change things here in Memphis. And we were able to do some really amazing things. Like I started out with web shows because back then web shows were like on and popping. Issa Rae, who had not been discovered yet, was literally starting on the misadventures of the Aqua Black Girl.
Yeah.
And so Aqua Black Girl was like literally in its first season, and it was just like really amazing. And there were so many other web shows that were coming out. And I was just like, now is a really good time to hit this market. And so initially, I created a show called Journeys, and it was like a superhero trio because we love superheroes. And they were like these Black icons. Like it was Black boy magic, Black girl magic.
Yes.
Really strong characters. And so we started that. We filmed it in the middle of finals because when I came back, I decided to go back to school. College. And so we filmed our pilot. It took 16 hours to film our pilot in the middle of finals. And it was cold and it was winter. And so we were freezing. But we started there with web shows. We filmed Journeys and then a show called Blue. And I would say after Blue blew up. And so we went from having like hundreds of views to thousands per episode. And like,
wow.
We ended up doing like 60,000 views in our first year. And just like things were just like really great from there. And then we started getting contracted gigs, like film stuff for people and produce things. And then I started getting like asked to like travel out of town to like direct stuff for people or write for people. And it just kind of like changed my life. And so I went from being a person that wanted to create change to being a person that was a part of the change.
Yes.
I got invited to go and co-produce an LGBT series called Bashful, with this amazing writer called Abby Denny here in Memphis. And being able to be on Bashful was just like, it was a representation I needed as an adult. It was an LGBT show that featured people that looked like me, that spoke the same lingo as I did, grew up in the same city as me, and some that kind of traveled from out of town, but like we were able to really do great. And that show did like hundreds of thousands of views. And so it was just like really just kind of able to do what we set out to do. And then after I did web shows for a while, I decided to transition into music. And so we started like producing music. I started making music and performing, and that was a whole nother monster. Did some albums, some EPs, a tour, a concert, and that was really great. And then we started doing the same thing for other artists because, like I said in the beginning, I love being able to see other people grow too. You know, it's not just put myself on, you put your brothers and sisters on too. And so after that, then I was like, well, what's left? And I was like, there's literary. So I started DeMoir Publishing and added that as a subsidiary of House of DeMoir Productions. And then I started publishing my novels and doing like book signings and author events. And there was this thing, it's called Bookstock. It's like Woodstock except for books. And so I was invited by the city to like be a featured author there, like sell my work and like do panel interviews, and that was like really amazing. And so House of DeMoir Productions has been this really huge umbrella that's really allowed for a lot of amazing things, you know, and a lot of great things for people that have come through our company, whether it's like actors or writers or producers or content creators or whatever. And it all started in like my college's library. You know, I think we had our first meeting in like a library meeting room on campus, and that was 2012, and here we are all these years later with a nice, very modest, very, you know, simple little empire here. And I really just, I have Shonda Rhimes to thank for just inspiring me to be able to do it, you know, be able to be in school and create shows. And I think at that time we were doing like, I was running 3 shows just like Shonda. I was running Journeys, and I was running Blue, and then a spinoff called Torian. Because I was Shonda Rhimes. If she can have Grace, Scandal, and Highway Murder.
That's right.
and I was running myself ragged just like Shonda. But I mean, all people's lives I was able to like help change and like introduce to the world. Yeah. You know, and so it's been great. It's been great. But yeah,
I think that's a big thing that people don't understand. They think that writing is just like you're sitting there and putting pen to paper or typing away, but it takes so much thought process. Even when you feel like it's just flowing and it's not, you're not thinking too much about it, you really are. It's just so
it definitely takes a village. Yeah, absolutely. Writing is collaborative. Yeah.
Where can we find information on House of DeMoir, and are there any upcoming projects, or can people reach out to you about projects?
Absolutely. So there's this line that Beyonce says, "And why don't you love me?" which is an iconic song. And she says, "Check my credentials." And basically it just means Google me.
Yes.
You know, you Google House of DeMoir. But no, but like seriously, let me be humble, because my mom would say be humble.
Go off, honey, go off.
But yeah, but like when you Google me, when you Google House of DeMoir or you Google J DeMoir, we pop up. We're there. Our YouTube channels are there. Our Twitters are there. Our videos are there. Our Goodreads. Our, you know, what else? Our albums are there. Our music videos are there. Our culture is there because we're iconic.
That's it, people. You hear that?
But no, but I promise I'm humble, y'all. I promise I am. But no, seriously. But if you Google us, there, all of our body of work is there.
Beautiful.
And you can always reach us on social media. Me personally at J DeMoir. That's JayDemoir. Twitter is the same spelling as well. And our House of DeMoir things are the same. HOUSEOFDEMOIR. And you can also find us on Goodreads, Amazon, and other places as well. But yeah.
And I'll be putting all that in the description of the podcast and on the YouTube. So we're just going to go through a few more things, because you just like, you have so many hats on. I don't even know where to go next.
I mean, so I have come to find out that I'm a workaholic. That I realize about myself, and it affects my relationships. So I'm trying to work on that. But yeah, I like wearing hats, and I really like helping my brothers and sisters with their art. And I don't know if I get that from the Queen Bee herself, because she's been the most amazing curator and grower and nurturer of Chloe and Halle. I don't know if that's, I don't know if there's some kind of symbolism or comparisons drawn there. I really think that it's important to like allow other people to shine too.
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with being able to allow your light to shine and let other people do it as well.
Yeah.
And so even with having all these hats, it's also like, you know what, let me cut a piece of my hat off to give it to you because you can grow your own hat.
Yeah.
I think the clearest picture of that was when the goddess herself, Adele, won Album of the Year. And she was like, no, Beyonce, I'm going to give you this too. And she like breaks it and throws it to Beyonce. Yes. I love you. And, but that's the greatest symbol of that, because when I win, you win too, and so, so there's no such thing as negative competition. I think we all have a place on the podium to win, so. And I think that just kind of goes with equity versus equality. We all have the opportunity to give each other that opportunity.
Exactly. So quick reminder, before this ends, be sure that you reach out to Mr. Moore, to Beyonce and Shonda Rhimes, and give them a special thank you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Look, I'm all here for it.
I love it. And then, so as a new owner of a bookstore, congratulations.
Oh my God. Oh,
new
thank
owner
you.
Of a bookstore.
I forgot all about
that. You got so much on your plate.
Wow, I forgot.
Yes. So, and then you're officially the first Black owner of a bookstore in Memphis, Tennessee. Is that correct?
Oh, crazy facts. So, okay, here's the thing. I totally forgot about my bookstore. I'm so sorry. After we started publishing books, then we decided to actually be the houser of books. And so I'm opening up our bookstore, DeMoir Books and Things, in June. And so I totally forgot. Oh my God, thank you for bringing that up. I forgot. And so with that, I am officially Memphis's first millennial that is founded our independent bookstore. In the city, we have Church of God in Christ, which is a predominantly African-American denomination, and they have their own religious bookstore. Okay. But as far as like genre encompassing, I will be the first Black-owned bookstore. We have other independent ones there, but they're not here, rather not there, but they're not Black-owned. And so I think it's really important, again, with representation. How is this city over 100 years old and has never had a person of color to own a bookstore? I mean, that's ridiculous. And so somebody has to always be first.
I think you are the best representation of a bookstore owner that the city could have.
Thank you.
I think it's great. And literally, I was going to ask you, how do you want this to like impact the community? But I think you pretty much.
I mean, okay, so that's a twofold answer. So one, I have been an educator for quite a while. I teach English and creative writing for middle school. And I really enjoy being able to foster a love of reading in the classroom. I enjoy being able to foster a love of writing in the classroom, because those two gifts they aren't synonymous, but they're closely linked. In order to be a strong writer, you have to read. In order to be a strong reader, you have to write. And one thing that I've noticed is the decline in literacy among Black and brown children. And so I want to be able to impact just the literacy for our community. I mean, I have kids this year because I'm transitioning out of education, but this year I'm still teaching. And I have 8th graders who are 13, 14, who read on a 2nd grade level. Yeah. And we should not have that. There should be no achievement gap when it comes to literacy. And so I definitely want to be able to close that achievement gap by opening up a bookstore with someone that looks like me, because it shows you, hey, I'm a person that can read. You're a person that can read, and you don't have to look like anybody else to be able to have that gift. Yeah. I mean, it's a gift. You need this gift to be able to survive in life, and so I definitely want to be able to extend that branch. Yes, we have libraries. Yes, we have other bookstores. Yes, we have Barnes & Noble, but Barnes & Noble, I'm about with that. Barnes & Noble does not have your best interest at heart when it comes to educating your child. You go there, you get your coffee, you get your latte, you get a nice, cute little book, you get your little cute bookmark in a magazine, but that's where it ends. Can you come to the bookstore and receive tutoring? Can you come to the bookstore and receive help with your homework? Can you come to this bookstore and be able to grab something off the shelf that can change your life, And so with someone that actually knows what you're going through, because they teach kids who look like you.
Yeah.
And so like it definitely becomes a more personal experience. Um, and that's what I want to do for my community. You know, I teach all kind of kids. I have students from South America. I have students from Jordan, you know, from Memphis. Like I have so many diverse kids. And it's not just my black and brown kids, but all of them. And all of them deserve a chance. You know, and I want to be that face for our kids. And that's not me firing shots at my Eurasian um what companions or anything like that. It's just the fact that you've been able to shine for so long and not have um, any deterioration come from your society. But for other people who don't look like you, even our Asian comrades, you know, you have had this opportunity to be advanced and be educated. The rest of us need to catch up.
Yeah.
And so we need to have the ability to catch up. In order to do that, we have to have spaces and lanes that are carved for us to have that opportunity to do so. And so I just think that's definitely part of the mission of DeMoir Books and Things is to carve out that lane so that the rest of us can thrive and learn in a safe environment.
I love that. I love that. I know it's gonna be like such a pop-in bookstore. Everybody's gonna be up in there. I'm so happy for you.
Thank
I
you.
really see great things coming ahead.
Thank you.
Um,
Thank you.
so as an educator, what advice do you give your students about life? And since this is, you're saying you're leaving the school system, so maybe you can leave them some parting wisdom.
So it definitely feels like the bittersweet moment that comes on track 11 of the standard issue of Destiny Fulfilled, which is Destiny's Child last album. And it feels like, you know, that bittersweet moment where like, oh my God, this is an amazing work of art and you don't want it to end. So even though I might be leaving the classroom, I won't be technically leaving education because I'll still be educating people through this.
Yes.
The one thing
Yes.
that I'll say about life, that was the question, right? About life.
Yeah. A little bit of
One
life
thing, yeah.
advice.
One thing I would say is to chase your dreams. Don't let your dreams expire. Because when you let them expire, you allow yourself to die.
Yeah.
And the quickest way to die is to give up on yourself. So if you have dreams, hold on to those dreams, chase those dreams. You won't always have people that will support those dreams. Sometimes they're your parents, sometimes they're your cousins, your brothers, your sisters, your uncle, your aunt, your teacher, whoever. But if that is the goal that you have in your mind, hold on to that. You know, because no one knows your potential more than you do. And so that would be the advice that I would give students or adults, people in general. Give up on yourself. You are your biggest cheerleader and you are your biggest support. So don't fail yourself and don't give up on yourself. Chase those dreams, baby.
That's right. That's right. You let everybody else give up. You keep going.
Period. You know, so
So we're just gonna do two more things. Just one more question, which I
okay.
sort of ask everyone because I'm big on um, like nonprofits.
Okay.
So I like to get a little more insight about what organizations you might be involved with or that you're passionate about, and maybe that we don't know about and we can look into.
So you're gonna catch me slipping here. I'm currently not partnered with any nonprofits. I'm in the works of closing out some contracts with a few places, not places, a few, yeah, there will be places, a few places here. So we're in the works. We have some things pending. So
Okay.
we will, I definitely will be linking with Out Memphis, which is an LGBT center here. And so I'm trying to link and close this deal with them to be able to like join up with them and like help our displaced youth, especially when it comes to education. So many, for those of you that watch Pose, you're very aware of the fact that LGBT youth often end up turned out on the streets and end up not finishing school because they lose that particular support. And so having people continue to chase that dream, you know, and so I have somewhere safe to do that. And so there are a few other organizations that are like close to my heart that I want to be able to join with and help as well. But those things are definitely coming up soon within the next few months. Fingers
And yeah,
crossed.
definitely, our conversation doesn't end at this podcast. So definitely send me any links. I'll add it to
Will
my
do.
sites and stuff
Will do.
because
Will do.
that we are all about. We want to help everyone and anyone that we can. So
Yeah. Yeah.
um,
Absolutely.
so now we're gonna have a little bit of fun. I mean, it's not too much
Okay.
fun. It was a
Okay.
little game that I thought of because I know you love watching movies and you're an
Yes.
avid reader. So I
Yes.
figured this
Yes.
might be cool. So it's
Okay.
simple. I'm going to ask you if these famous pieces of literature should have stayed as just that, or if the
Okay.
movie and or show was good enough to leave the page. So the
Okay.
game, it's
Ooh.
called Should Have
Ooh.
Never Left the Page. You
Ooh.
just have to say yes or no.
Okay. Got you. Okay.
So this first one, the Sookie Stackhouse series, True Blood by Charlene Harris. That's literally
Oh,
like one of my all-time
yes.
favorites. I think I've read the
Yes.
series three or
Yes.
four
Yes.
times.
Yes. 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 Yeah.
So you think yes, it should have been True?
Absolutely. I think that Anna Paquin,
Yes,
she did what had to be done. She understood the assignment.
she was Sookie.
She was Sookie, and as much as she was rogue, she was Sookie Stackhouse.
Yes.
So absolutely, it should have. It did what it had to do. And the thing about it, Charlene, she's literally from like 2 hours up the road. Like she's
Shut up. Wait, what?
yeah, like she's literally from like I think like Jackson, Mississippi, or something like that. Like she's literally like not that far. Like where she grew up is not that far from Memphis.
Yes, please look it up. Maybe I would have to come visit Memphis.
Yeah, I mean, like she's not that far, and I think it's so amazing. I think it's so.
That is amazing. That literally, I think that series is probably one of my ultimate go-tos. I just think it has passion,
Yeah.
sex, scandal, murder,
Oh
blood.
my god,
Everything.
it had a story.
Yes.
I think that's what we miss from television, not just some stories. I mean, geez.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So while you're looking that up, the next one, The Maze Runner by James Dashner.
No.
Have you read it and watched it, or?
I read the first two books.
Yep.
I did in fact see the movies, and it's just on the page.
I could not keep up with it. I was like, the movies didn't make sense. The book, I read through the first one and I got like halfway through the second. And I was like, I don't know. This is.
She's from Tunica. I'm sorry. Tunica is literally like 55 minutes up the road. So yeah, she's not. I don't know if she still lives there or not, but yeah.
We can go knock.
But yes, but seriously though, Maze Runner should have said a book. It just it didn't do what it needed to do at all.
Classic by Alice Walker, The Color Purple.
Yes,
definitely.
honestly, hands down.
No, that shouldn't have even been here. I know.
I mean, oh my god.
Now this one's like a new one, and I just finished watching the series because it's another series that I'm obsessed with. Shadow and Bones.
No.
Are you serious?
Okay, so here's the thing. The show is great.
Yeah.
Books not so much for me personally. So I would have preferred if it was just a series by itself because the books just didn't. They were dull. And she wrote Six of Crows too, and that movie was. That book was a fool too. So
yeah, Six of Crows. I'm not a fan of, but I really liked it. Okay, to each their own. Orange is the New Black by Piper Kerman.
Yes.
Yeah, I think so too. Because honestly, I think the way that they elaborated on the stories and sort of like added to it in the series, it's sort of like
it like made it life of its own. Like it took on a life of its own.
Yeah.
Became like a cultural, I won't say cultural reset, but it was like really impactful, you know? So yeah, absolutely. Yes.
Then let's see. How about The Hunger Games, Suzanne Collins?
Yes. I know people hate on Jennifer, but I love The Hunger Games.
Yeah, I did like The Hunger Games. I think more so like the first two films, but the series I think is, and it was sort of true to the movies, but I don't know. I guess
really.
It's like the first two I was like obsessed with, and then when they broke up the last, I don't know. It was just like too much. I think
we all know why they broke it up. because Harry Potter was doing so amazing, and they were like, "Oh, Harry Potter did it. Oh,
Yeah.
Tolkien did it.
Yeah.
Oh, let's do it." And everything doesn't need to be broken up. I mean, they lived them in one movie. But I get why they did it. It was a marketing thing. I get that. But other than that, I thought it was really solid.
Yeah.
Even though Jennifer had some cringeworthy moments, but overall, it was
I
really.
think that might have been it. Like some of the acting and some of the scenes I felt like didn't sort of match what I took from
Yeah,
the book.
yeah,
So
absolutely. And it's probably, I mean, now that is Jennifer's fault. Because ruined a lot of the X-Men movies. Days of, not Days, what was that? Days of Futures Past,
uh-huh.
Eclipse, and Dark Phoenix. Like she's really a reason why those movies probably didn't do so well.
Yeah, I don't get her as wait,
Mystique,
what does she play? Mystique. I don't get
yeah,
it. I don't get
it didn't
it.
work. It didn't work. I mean, she would never replace Rebecca. But yeah, sometimes her acting can be. I mean, I think because she won an award, she was like, "Oh no, I'm a great actress." No, sweetheart, it's
That's
just
what happens.
they felt like being nice. That's why you won that award. But yeah, what's the next one?
Let's see. Oh, A Wrinkle in Time, Madeline L'Engle.
No,
Now, no, I didn't like the movie, but I
the movie
like
was
I
horrible.
like the book.
I enjoyed the book. I didn't love it. I enjoyed it. The movie
Yeah,
horrible.
I know. When I saw the movie was coming out, I got so excited. And even
Yeah,
though like it's like a kid's story pretty much, but
yeah.
it's such like a classic story. But I was
I
like, what
mean,
the hell is this?
it was a hot mess, and I think it looks beautiful.
Yeah.
What Aretha Franklin say, beautiful gowns, but it did not do what it was supposed to do. It just felt really weird, and it
I
felt
kept telling myself, just watch it because look how aesthetically pleasing this is. But I
yeah.
was like, what the hell is happening? You got like one of the best casts on here, and this is the worst.
And that's what happens when you have scripts that need more work.
Yeah.
It didn't do what it needed to do, but And poor Storm, I haven't seen her in anything since then. I mean, she had potential. She was really
You
good.
know what? I saw something with her. What was it called? But it was like that. She passes away, and
Oh,
her
unfortunate.
uncle
Oh,
is like trying to stop them. I don't know. It's like a sci-fi kind of thriller, but I thought it was really good. I thought that was really good.
okay,
Get
okay.
into it. Get into it.
I'm
And
gonna have to
then
Google it.
yeah, look it up. I can't think of the name. I almost said something else, but I know that's not it.
Okay, I'm gonna have
Uh,
to do that.
let's see. Let me rush through these last few.
Okay.
Don't want to keep you too long.
I don't mind. This is fun. I'm having so much
I
fun.
know
This
I'm
is
having
awesome.
a good time. This is great conversations, and then I don't know too many people that write, so I don't get to talk to people on this level.
Well, look, I'm always up for a good conversation.
Yes. Oh no,
You
you
have,
made a new best friend. Don't you worry.
you know what? Don't say that because I like to travel. I will fly out. So I don't have many male friends, which is kind of weird, but yeah.
Neither do I. Neither do
Look,
I. I literally have
BFF
like
status.
less than a handful.
Yeah, BFF status is loading. So got it.
So, and this might determine whether or not we are BFFs.
Okay.
The Mortal Instruments by Cassandra Clare.
No.
I
No.
didn't like the book. I didn't like the movies.
So here's the thing: the movie was horrible. They picked the wrong male actor, even though he was in Twilight. He didn't look cute there either. So they should have left him where he was, which was unemployed. The Clary, she no, that was a hot mess too. The only good thing that came out of the movie was Viola Davis because she did what she had to do. But I did not enjoy. No, Viola Davis was in that movie. She's in that other weird movie that was a book. Um, oh my God, I'm sorry, Viola. I did not mean to do you like that. She wasn't in that movie. She was in another movie. But anyway, yeah. So the books are they're horrible after the third because initially it was planned as a trilogy.
Mhm.
It was like, oh, this is making a lot of money. Let's do more. And so after the third book, they become really trash.
No.
Then like she has this huge world where there are like all these different spin-offs, the Dark Devices. Then Magnus and Alec get a spin-off. Their series is actually pretty good. Two
Oh
books out,
really?
pretty good. But like Jason Clary and it got really I don't know how many books you tried to read, But like at one point they were like, "Oh, we actually are siblings, but we're still gonna do it anyway because we're nasty." And it's like, "Oh, we're not siblings. Oh, wait, I might be, but I'm not. But I could be if you want me to." Like it just
Exactly. If you want it, then...
yeah, it just becomes really weird, and yeah, yeah, it's just too much. But
All right, so I'm just gonna jump to these last two, and then
okay,
we'll finish up here. But see, this one, I think I read this when I was young because I really could not get into it, and I really wasn't. Even though like the story and the concept, I think now in my adulthood is good, but Fahrenheit 451.
are we talking about the Michael B. Jordan remake or like the original?
Well, the original, no. Michael B. Jordan, I wanted to give him the chance because it's Michael, but
no.
I couldn't either. I just
beautiful gowns, but the original, yes. The remake, not so much. Book, yes, but not the remake. Michael is,
yeah. I mean, it was nice that he was in it.
Yeah, it was nice. He was in it. I said Fantastic Four came out. I was like, well, at least Michael's in it.
And then lastly, this was like, I read this, and then literally right after I read it, they came out with a series, which I was excited about, but the series was trash. The Zoo by James Patterson. Did you get to read that?
I didn't.
It is so good.
I'm not a James Patterson fan. I have tried.
I'm not either, but this is different for him, I think. It's sort of like, because it's more on the sci-fi realm than anything, but it is like super, you don't know what's going to happen next. I think it is probably one of my favorites because it's so out there. But it's just...
I might have to add that to my watch list. I think like, now I wish that James would like allow like the Dangerous Days of Daniel X. It's
yes.
Now if that was turned into a series, look.
Yes.
Because I have read that with some of my kids, so that definitely would be like, oh my god, this is good. So I have to add what you just said to my list.
Do it. I may not know everything, but I know some.
Look, I can dig it because you just put me on game. So
you are good. Jay, that was it for this episode. I appreciate you coming and joining me here.
Thank you so much for having me.
This was so great.
I appreciate it. I honestly do. I like when you messaged me on Instagram, I literally was like, oh my God, this is just like literally so amazing. I just feel so humbled. Like I really do. I mean, just to even be thought of, to like want to hear my story. I think that's such a beautiful thing. So I really appreciate you reaching out, Eric. It made my week.
Oh no, believe me, after just diving into like the first chapter of Across the Stars, I was like, holy shit. I was like, wait, he did say yes, right? Because honestly, you read a lot and you can see like a lot of the shit out there is not the best. Yeah. So I was a little apprehensive and I was like, oh my God, this man is so talented. I honestly, I felt like I was watching the movie in my head.
Oh wow.
Really, really good. Guys, Across the Stars, The Wives, go check out those series.
Wow, thank you.
So good. Thank you so much, Jay.
Well, thank you for having me once again, and you be safe out there. Continue to wash your hands, wear your mask, all that jazz. Enjoy your life, and don't forget your dreams too.
Thank you. Thank you guys for tuning into another great interview with our creative guest, Jay DeMoir. I want to thank Jay for joining me and sharing his story with us. I urge you all to check him out on Instagram at J_DeMoir and at DeMoir Books. If you are interested in sci-fi or just love to read, show your support by purchasing a Jay DeMoir novel available on Amazon in paperback or digital download. If you are in the Memphis area, keep an eye out for Jay's new bookstore, DeMoir Books and Things, set to open this June. I want to thank you all for listening to this episode, and if you have not already caught up, tune into all of our previous episodes from Lifestyle of the Broken Creative podcast. Remember to spread peace, love, and happiness, and as always, be creatively you.